So today I thought I would walk you through how to do big stitch binding on your projects, and I'll walk you through first the tools that I use to do this technique. So first off, you're going to need a needle with a larger eye. Because the thread that I'm using is a little bit thicker, you want to make sure that the eye of your needle is wide enough to be able to accommodate the thicker thread. So I tend to use these Clover Gold Eye embroidery needles. They come in packs ranging in size from number 3 to number 9. And they work very well. I haven't had any issues with them. Today I'm going to be using some Orfil thread in 12 weight. It's not as thick as, say, a pearl cotton thread, but it still has quite a good thickness to it, so you'll still have a prominent stitch. And it works very well and has no issues going through the eye of these Clover needles. You're going to need a pair of snips. I like to use a thimble. There's lots of different thimbles out there. I tend to really like this one because I feel like it molds to your finger, which is nice. And no matter how tough the thickness or the needle is, or how tough it is to push it through all the different layers, and it never hurts my finger. So this is why I really like this one. I've had this one now for a couple of years, and it's still going strong. This is obviously optional, but a thread conditioner can go a long way in helping reduce the fluff from your thread and help your thread glide through all the different layers. This one is a natural beeswax. As you can see, it's well loved. I've got some fluff in there. But there's also Thread Heaven, which it's no longer being made, I don't believe, but if you can find some, that one's quite nice as well. And then I just have a pin cushion just to keep track of my my needle. But you could also use a needle minder. Either one would work. So let me start by cutting a piece of thread. Now, you don't want to cut your thread too long because then you're going to have problems with it knotting and tangling, but you don't want it too short because then you're going to be stopping and starting a lot, which can get tiring. So I'm just going to take about the width of my, from the tip of my hand to my elbow, is about how long I do it. Now, wherever I cut my thread is where I'm going to tie my knot. Now, there's a lot of people who like to do the quilter's knot. I just do a very quick and dirty, roll it through my fingers, get myself a knot. Again, as long as you just have it doesn't have to be pretty as long as it holds and secures. You're not going to see it, so it really doesn't matter. So I did 2 knots to give myself some good stability. Now I'll show you how the thread conditioner works. So all I'm going to do is I like to wrap it around my finger just once, and then I hold it. So I pull with my left hand, and then I kind of hold it with my thumb on my right hand, and I just run it through the thread conditioner. And now my thread is ready to go. So I'm just going to cover this back up, and then I'm going to thread my needle. There we go. So sometimes that happens. What I like to do is I just trim it a little bit to get a nice fresh cut, and then sometimes I put it in my mouth and I kind of flatten it with my teeth. I don't know if you can see that very well. And that just helps it go right through. A little tip from lots of hours of hand stitching. Okay, so I've already got some of the stitching done. As you can see, I'm just working on a small little mini here. So here's where I've left off, and I'm going to show you how to continue. So what you want to do is, there's two different ways that you can do this, but this is the one that I've been currently enjoying. So I'm going to come in from the back side here. So I'm just going through one layer here. I'm not going through the front, but I am going through the top, the top and the batting, and then coming back out. And what that does is I'm kind of securing my needle right there within my previous stitches when I went around and attached the binding to the back side. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of flip this around, and what I want to do is come out about equidistant, right? It doesn't, I mean, you don't have to be too fussy about this, but I don't want to come down too close to the edge, because I don't want it to flap up too much. But I don't want to, like, I just want to leave a little bit of a space. I'd say about an eighth of an inch is what I'm leaving there. And then I come through. So again, I haven't gone through the back. I've just secured the knot within the batting. On top, I haven't actually popped it through, but I've got the thread going through the top, through the batting, and now I've popped it out through the binding edge. And now, all I'm going to do is a running stitch. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to go through the binding, through the top layer, through the batting, and then come back out. Now I haven't gone through the back at all. And then, sorry, I need my thimble, and then I press and pull through. Now you can do a couple stitches at a time. I would recommend when you're just starting out to take one stitch and just get the feel for it, but you can certainly do more stitches at a time as you get more comfortable with it, and then you're just going to continue just going in through the binding, through the top layer, through the batting, not going through the back, and pulling through. You get into a rhythmic movement, and you get into a groove, and it goes quite quickly. I would say I probably can do this quicker than the blind stitch that I use when I'm doing my other type of binding. Okay, so I've come up to a corner, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to remove my paper clip, and I'm going to come in, again going through the binding, through the batting, and then coming through, making sure not to go through the front, and then just pull through. Now, if you've seen my other tutorials on the on binding, I normally stitch up here. When I'm doing the big stitch binding, I don't. I just leave it loose. But you can certainly go through. I've sometimes seen people do a small little cross here. You could absolutely do that. So far, I've just been leaving them open, and I haven't had any problems. So it really comes down to personal preference. And then you're just going to continue going. And then I'll show you how to finish off. So keep stitching. Again, I kind of use my thumb at the tip here to kind of hold it and then give myself a levered edge to kind of know where I'm coming back out. And so to finish off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through. So instead of coming back through, I'm going to go up towards my stitching there. Again, making sure that I haven't gone through the back. And then just pull through. Making sure you got only one single layer there. And then what I do is I wrap the thread around my finger and then pull it through. I got some threads there. And then I hold my needle down where I want my knot to happen. I'll show you again because I always do it twice. So I go through, wrap it, pull it, and then use the tip of the needle to guide my knot down. And then once you have your knot, So my knot is all the way down there. I got some thread in the way. But you can see that my knot is there. So that has secured this bit of stitching. And then you just want to clip your threads. And there you go. You have just done your big stitch binding. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to get back to you on those.